everyone, and welcome to episode 35 of the Microsoft Spotlight podcast. We're joined by Andrew Moran, and John, as always, will be joining us a little bit later, and Jess. So we'll let you do introductions. But yeah, I'll pass it over, Jess, if you'd like to do a little bit of an introduction of yourself and what you currently do.
Sure, thank you. Thanks firstly for having me. As you said, my name's Jess Pomfret. My pronouns are she and her, and I am a data platform architect. I'm based in Southampton in the UK, but I've got a bit of a weird accent because I lived in Ohio for 15 years, and now I've got just a unique middle of the Atlantic accent. But I am English and back living in England now. I work for Data Masterminds, a small consulting firm, and I've been there since last November. But I've been a database administrator and in this kind of industry for just over 10 years now. So
amazing.
And you've got an important thing as well. You're a Microsoft MVP.
Oh, I did forget that. Sorry, Microsoft MVP. I think this is 2 years now in the cloud and data center area. So.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, thank you for that intro. I guess the first question from me is how did you get into IT?
Oh, I don't know. So I've always been interested in IT and computers. Both my parents worked in IT, so I've always been kind of brought up around having a computer and fiddling around with it. I moved to America in 2005 to play football. I went over there on a soccer scholarship, and I was convinced that was going to be my career. Like I was obviously going to make it as a pro women's footballer when there was almost no pro women's football, so that was probably not going to happen. And when I got there, they were like, "Oh, you've got to study something too. Like, what are you going to study?" So I picked biology to start with, and then after a couple semesters, I was like, "I'm never going to do something with this." So I moved and changed my major to business, and ended up doing like a business management information systems kind of course. So it was business school, but heavily IT related. And I just enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the database classes. I enjoyed some of the programming classes. And after that, I got a job as a DBA kind of accidentally. I was still in America at the time, and I needed to find a job or come back to England basically for my visa. And I was about a week away from just packing my things and having to move back. And this company offered me this job. And I was like, yeah, I don't really know what a DBA is, but sure, I'll come and learn and whatever. And it just ended up being so much fun. Just all of the problem solving and there was some PowerShell in there. It just ended up being a good kind of move. So, I mean, it's kind of good that I ended up in IT. I think I was kind of always destined to work something in IT, but the database part wasn't necessarily planned, but it worked out pretty good.
I mean, obviously that's very much a different career path that we've heard. I mean, we spoke to Ellie King. She works as an IT recruitment. She was a former scholar at Arsenal to start off with, before actually going into recruitment. So, you know, obviously, as you say, women's pro football, as it is now, wasn't what it was 5-10 years ago. You know, it's completely different now. That's in Sky Sports News, you know, proper live channels. You know, when I go and watch the England women when they play locally near me, and also Aston Villa ladies as well. So
nice.
It's been I follow quite a bit. And obviously, I'm involved in grassroots football. I work in a boys' team, so for me,
awesome.
I see it on a quite a regular basis. But yeah, I mean, you said a very much magical word for me there, PowerShell. I mean, as a person, I love PowerShell. I mean, it's a great skill for anyone to have from, you know, just basic administration. What was your first thoughts of using PowerShell? Because I know what mine was. It's like quite a scary thing to do. And when you start doing it, it's like how easy this is and how much it makes life so much simpler.
Yeah, it totally does make life so much easier, right? And I think a lot of us kind of joke about being lazy and not wanting to do the same thing over and over again, right? And in kind of a DBA role, in the role I was in before, we had a lot of servers and a lot of SQL agent jobs and logins and databases all over the place, right? And so to come in the morning and check that all the backups are good, all the jobs ran, was very manual, right? So that was kind of my first entry into PowerShell, was how we could automate checking some of those things. And not long after that, I found DBA Tools, which is a community open source module that has just, I forget how many contributors now, but there are like hundreds of people who've contributed code that do different things with PowerShell around kind of database administration. And it makes some of those things even easier. And I think one of the real benefits of it is it makes learning it easier, because people have written a ton of content about it. And a lot of the kind of programmy part of PowerShell is encapsulated in these commands that do kind of what you need. So there's like one way you can go get your last backups real easy. Like the command is named like get DBA last backup or something, and you can just go check when the last backups were. So I think, yeah, PowerShell is, I mean, it's so powerful, right? I mean, it gives us so many opportunities, both in the database world and in like the sysadmin side of things too. Just, yeah, it's so great. I love PowerShell a lot.
I mean, I wish I started learning it sooner. I mean, I got into it and I started becoming a Skype for Business consultant, and I was basically doing work with particular customers. It's like, you know, just I knew a Skype for Business MVP over in the States, and he wrote a script that basically made my life easier, installing the servers. So then I then started looking at, well, what can I do to obviously add to his script and make improvements in my own like personal development. And that's when I started making my own PowerShell scripts. And I mean, I made one around SQL Always On, converting all the databases to the correct format for Skype for Business. And that was like my very first steps into like really, you know, proper like in-depth PowerShell script that did all the bells and whistles behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think as soon as you start using it and you can see how much easier you can make it, and it's not really like that hard to learn and to move around in, right? I think people quickly get kind of all in.
Yeah,
it's completely over my head, to be honest. I mean, I would love to learn. It sounds really interesting when you're talking about it, but yeah, maybe I should start now. Maybe this is the revelation that this is my sign, basically. So from a DBA analyst, now a platform architect, just sort of tell everyone your experience from going to that and how you've ended up as an architect in this role.
Yeah, so most of it is kind of based on the community work I do. So the company I work for, there's I think 7 of us now, so it's pretty small, and I know them all from just working in the community, writing blog posts, going to conferences and stuff. So they approached me earlier last year and basically wanted to know if I was interested in joining their team and kind of what they do and what they're about. And I mean, it's such a great job. Like most days, I can't believe that this is work now, you know, because I work from home. So it's the hours are flexible, and we have all kinds of different clients with different projects to work on. So it's really fun. But I just, mostly with PowerShell and some DBA topics, I just started blogging and contributing to DBA Tools. So writing some PowerShell for that. I started speaking about that at different kind of user groups and stuff, and then at some conferences, and just kind of got my name out in the community and met all these people. And I think a lot of it in the community is people are helping each other, right, to find the next kind of career step or improve whatever, right, in your skills and who you know and stuff. So it just kind of worked out like that.
Yeah. And was there anything or sort of anyone that helped you get into the community? What sort of advice would you give to people that are wanting to get into the community more and wanting to, you know, public speak at these conferences?
Yeah, so I've probably got a couple of people, and there's tons of people who have helped me along the way. Yeah. But the first user group that I went to in Cleveland, Ohio, when I was there, there's a guy called Alan White he's an MVP, and he has been for a really long time in the SQL Server community. And he would always introduce that user group and basically say, like, you all feel like you've got nothing that you could teach because you don't want to speak here necessarily, but like every single person has something that they can teach other people. And like he was saying, like, I've been in the IT industry for however many years, like you speaking on a topic, I'm going to learn something because you're going to do things differently than how I've done them. And like he said that every time, like, you've all got something to teach, like you could all do a speech up here. And after a while I started talking to him about like what I wanted to present and maybe doing a lightning talk and stuff. And just that kind of encouragement to speak about a topic at a user group. I think once you talk about it, you know about it, you know it's so much more in depth anyway, right? Because you do a lot of research to be able to feel confident doing it. And so yeah, he really got me into the speaking side of things. And there's a ton of other people involved in that user group who are also instrumental in getting my first presentation to any kind of decent standard. But on the other side, Chrissy Lemaire, who's the kind of founder and creator of DBA Tools, she really helped me get into contributing code and PowerShell into that module. I had no idea what Git and GitHub and all that open source stuff was. I just knew that I had written some PowerShell that I wanted to contribute to her module. And she really helped me get started, get everything set up. She basically like held my hand through the whole process of forking and cloning and pushing my changes into this repo. And just her like welcoming me into that group and helping me get started was just massive for me, because contributing code to DBA Tools is probably what got my confidence going a bit to be able to even contribute more in other ways, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say those two people are pretty high on my list.
But I think it's a good way of looking at it if you do want to public speak, in a sense that, especially a technical talk, you know, if it's your first one, then you've kind of got to do it. So, you know, you go away, you do that research, you put a presentation together, you then present to, you know, as a practice. And by that point, you know, pretty much everyone would be ready, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If it's something that they're passionate about and what they enjoy.
Yeah, I think I still get nervous now when I give presentations, and people say like, it's good if you're nervous, right? Because it means you care about it. If you weren't nervous, you wouldn't put as much effort into it, and you don't care about it as much. But yeah, I think that first presentation is always going to be kind of daunting, right? Because I mean, I remember giving like talks in school, right, when you've done some kind of project, like that was always the worst part for me. I'm happy to do the project on my own, but I don't want to tell other people about it, you know? So yeah, I think that first one's always going to be rough, but the community is so welcoming, both on the SQL Server side and on the PowerShell side. I've had so many people offer constructive feedback and help and just offer whatever they can, right, to get you ready and prepared for it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Hi, John. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going? You're right.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Are you?
Yeah, not bad. Sorry about being a bit late.
No problem.
Don't worry at all. We know you've got stuff on. Yeah.
I was just going to pick up on what Jess said there, like about the first presentation. I've done my first proper presentation, I think at the beginning of May. And yeah, it was good fun. I got Scottish Open next month. Yeah, next month now, isn't it? Yeah, just less than a month. But that was quite fun because the gap, the duration and time between the two were a lot different. I used to do the one in Scottish Summit, I think it's only 25 minutes. And the one I used to do the other day was like 45. I was scrambling for 20 minutes worth of content. Like the day before.
Sometimes I think the shorter ones are harder though, because you have to be really planned about what you want to say, right, to get it all in 20 minutes. Whereas if you've got an hour, you've got a bit more wiggle room. Like if you keep an eye on the clock, you can kind of know whether you're on time or not. But
I'm going to struggle
I
with
have
that
to do
though.
a public speaking session of 75 minutes the once, Office 365 Engage. And that was hard work because obviously, you know, I was talking about Office Pro Plus, and at the time, obviously, now it's Microsoft Apps for Enterprise. But at the time, it was like, you know, no one knew what it was, how it actually worked. So I managed to like go through every single thing about it and just trying to like drag it out as much as possible. But you know, is a demo. This is how you configure the script for it, the XML file, and just basically drag it out as much as possible because 75 minutes was a long time. I mean, like watching the clock going, is it over yet? I'll go back to the conference, have a beer.
I got it to 37 minutes. So I was looking at the clock. 37 minutes. I got it to. Then there weren't barely any questions. So I was like, now I'm gonna have trouble though. Now that Scottish something, because I've got to take that down to like 20 minutes again.
Yeah, so you've got a bit of room for questions. What's the topic?
M365 multi-geo. So yeah, I really dragged everything out, put lots of compliance stuff into it and everything.
I think we are.
Yeah, Jess, do you remember the title of your first presentation?
Yeah, it was on SQL Server data compression. So like whether you want to use no compression, row compression, page compression, and how you can automate that with DBA tools.
Awesome, yeah, because I remember my first presentation now was what, 2013. There's quite some time ago actually.
Yeah, what was your topic?
watching your Skype for Business environment, because I was basically using watcher nodes to basically check if the service is still active. So it's something I remember quite well because of my Twitter handles, the watcher node. So
yeah,
that's why I remember the title of my first topic.
Yeah, I think that's the only presentation I've done that is like more SQL Server heavy than PowerShell heavy. I think since then I've done more PowerShell with some SQL Server thrown in presentations rather than like this one had some SQL Server internals and some like very DBA kind of focus. And then I kind of drifted into more PowerShell stuff. So, yeah.
The Lego in the background.
What?
The Lego on top. What is it?
Yeah,
That's Friends.
it's
That's Friends. That is.
It's Friends, isn't it? Yeah.
it is, yeah.
Lego Friends.
Yeah, it's the boys and girls apartments, like
Yeah.
the set of them. Yeah.
So
Wow.
I know this because basically it's in my daughter's room, so she got the exact same Lego set. So I clocked it straight away. And I know what that is.
So
Yeah,
it's like it's got a purple. It's got a purple wallpaper. Then there's the boat on the left one, isn't it?
Yeah, the canoe. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the duck and the chicken are in there too.
Yeah.
Ross
And
is
you
in
can
there with
actually
his
buy lights as well.
leather
Go to the Lego
trousers.
set to light it all up properly.
Oh, really? Nice. Yeah, I think I actually still have 2 more bags to go because there was like 15 bags to build that whole thing. So I've just been doing it gradually. But yeah, the girls' apartment has 2 more bags to go, I think. But I got that as like a leaving present for my previous job back in November. And I just didn't have time to like sit down and work on it. And then I got COVID, so I was in isolation. My wife locked me in this room and the room next door. So I was like, I'm gonna build my Lego then. So
Yeah, the
it worked
perfect
out.
time.
Yeah.
So cool. Obviously, because you've moved from the States back over to the UK, because obviously you originally are from the UK. What's the kind of difference you've seen from like a working environment? Because obviously it is 2 different things really. When you look at it.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I first moved back to a financial services company here. So it was still quite structured and quite kind of a lot of regulations and things to kind of follow, right, rules wise. But I will say the kind of work-life balance here is totally different from in the US. And the contracts, so like my contract in the US was based on a 40-hour week, but if you did 40 hours, it was kind of like, oh, you're only doing 40 hours, right? There's a very much kind of a perspective that more work is better there. Whereas in the UK, I found that it's almost the opposite. Like obviously there's work to get done, but my contract at that financial services company was only 35 hours a week right off the bat. So just that and the additional holiday or vacation time. The holiday time was one of the reasons that I was kind of keen to move back, because in the US I only got 3 weeks a year, and that was after I'd negotiated for an extra week, whereas here I started on like 5 weeks. And so with my wife is from America and my family's all here, so by the time we spend 1 trip a year trying to catch up with family, like all the holiday time is gone basically, right?
Yeah.
So having more of that is super nice, just to be able to travel and do some more things. But
That really surprises me, because I was just under the assumption that we were the worse off. But maybe that's because I've been in England all my life.
yeah, no, the US are definitely known for having less kind of
Yeah.
vacation and holiday time and working more. Yeah.
And Italy is supposed to be really good, isn't it?
Yeah, they're probably the opposite end of the spectrum, aren't they?
Yeah. Italy like have a bank holiday or something like that nearly every week or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and a siesta every 2 hours. Is that in Italy, is that in Italy or is that Spain?
Spain.
I was gonna say, I think that might be
Same
Spain.
thing. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm really intrigued to know more about your current role, and so day to day, what is it that you actually do?
Yeah, I don't know. It changes every day, I feel like, which is one of the reasons I really like it. But we've got a kind of wide range of clients who all have different things going on, right? Different projects or different things that they need help with. So depending on the day, I could be working on some kind of SQL Server performance tuning stuff, or automating some processes. We have some clients that just want help automating things within their estate. So either writing like a morning check report that will automatically check kind of backups, SQL agent jobs, error logs, any other kind of client specific checks, and send out an email every morning with kind of this is how we're looking. Some of the other projects have been around developing kind of processes for things they need. So I've had one client where I've been helping to clear up a bunch of data that they have with all these complicated foreign key relationships and stuff. So just kind of that was all about understanding what needed to be deleted first, right, to be able to do that effectively, and then kind of writing a process that would run in the background and not disrupt business too much. But yeah, it's very varied, which is fun. And then we also do some kind of training stuff. So if clients want to learn about specific things that we talk about, like DBA tools or SQL Server topics, we also do some of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun.
And so for me, like as well, the fact obviously you're at an architect level, I mean, you don't actually see many women in tech at an architect level within businesses. And I know from my perspective and John's, within our actual teams, we don't actually have any female architects. And it's something that we're trying to, together in our own companies, trying to address the balance. But obviously it's quite difficult attracting more women from a consultancy up to the level of architect.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, obviously pre-COVID, there was a lot of travel involved, and obviously people's work lives and schedules just didn't really work. And it'd be nice to see more women, getting in more higher positions within IT organisations.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's got to come from having more women in IT in general to start with, right? And then kind of more people at all levels, right? So
yeah, and I think once you start having more people, diversity within your team, it attracts more diversity as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the key thing. As soon as you basically crack the nut on getting more diverse people into your team, it's easy then to basically build a team with more diversity in it.
Yeah, agreed. It's definitely a difficult problem, right? One of the things I always think about when I'm submitting to conferences and stuff is I don't want my sessions to necessarily get picked just because I'm checking a checkbox, right? Like increasing the number of women speakers at an event. I want them to get picked because they're good sessions or whatever, right? So it's the same with employment. Like you don't want to just go offer jobs to women just to have them in your team in your role, right? Because if they're not comfortable in that position or they're not ready for that position, it's not going to be a good fit and it's not going to work out, right? It's definitely a difficult problem to solve. But
yeah, I know you mentioned that your mum was in IT. Would you say that was, was she a role model for you? Because we do speak to a lot of women and they don't have really any role models, and I guess a big thing for me is raising that awareness and sharing the successes of other women within IT. So would you say that had a positive impact on yourself in going into IT?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was just not even really thought about that. It was weird that my mum was in IT. I mean, me and my brother, there's just two of us. We just were brought up in that environment where both our parents worked in IT, and we talked about computers and stuff. And we had computers in the house to fiddle around with and do whatever we wanted with, So yeah, I don't think it was really. I mean, I don't think it was really noticed that it was abnormal, until you get out into the world and you're like, wow, there aren't really that many women out here. But yeah, she was a DBA and a programmer for a really long time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And what did your dad do?
He worked in IT security.
Nice. So,
yeah, and he actually went around and did conference talks and stuff on IT security topics. So I've definitely followed in their footsteps on both sides.
Oh, so you got a decent mix there, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. And obviously you're an MVP, which is absolutely amazing. Did you say you've been an MVP for two years, is it?
Yeah, 2 years, yep.
Okay, so, well, again, another one that I'm really interested in and a topic that, speaking to other MVPs really interests me. How have you found it?
Yeah, it's been great. To start with, it was a little intimidating, right? Because when you're a new MVP, a lot of them kind of already know each other. Like a lot of the data platform and cloud MVPs have been MVPs for ages and have been MVPs for a long time. And I think just to have really great relationships between those groups. But no, it's great. The people that you get to meet through kind of the MVP events and the different MVP office hours and stuff, it's just super cool. And I am jealous that the MVP summit it's only been virtual since I've been an MVP, because I would love to go to Seattle and be a part of that kind of event.
I've said many times in this podcast how brilliant it was, and I enjoyed my time out there when I was an MVP. So
yeah, I've only heard great things about it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that helps with the relationships too, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest pluses of being an MVP, is just having this ability to meet all these other people who are just kind of the top of their industries, right? And it's not just the kind of MVP groups I mostly hang out in, it's all of the other MVP kind of, I don't know, tenants or whatever they're called. It's just, it would be cool to meet more of those people and hang out more. So, but yeah, it's been great. I've enjoyed it.
Well, fingers crossed the next one will be.
Yeah, let's
in
hope.
Person. Yeah, when is it meant to be? Is it?
It's usually springtime, right? Or
it'd be probably about 10 months time.
Yeah,
I think it was like March, wasn't it? This year. So.
Yeah, we just had the virtual one. Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you manage your time to be able to give back to the community, do your blogs, also have your full-time job? You've got a family. How do you manage all of that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just superwoman. That's it.
Yeah, no, I'm lucky that the job I have encourages the community aspect of it. Like, they want us to go out and speak, and they'll help us get to conferences to be able to speak. And they encourage us to blog and tweet and help out in the community, because they know how great the community is around both SQL Server and PowerShell, that it's benefited everyone, right? If I can help someone out in the community with a problem that I've seen, likely when I have a problem I can't fix, someone out there is going to have fixed it, right? And so us being kind of neatly tied into the community is important in my full-time job. So it is nice that I have that kind of flexibility to work on some of those things, like side by side my real work. But yeah, my time management is pretty poor. My wife does everything around the house and takes care of everything else, so I don't really worry about any of it, which is I am very privileged and very spoiled, and I will admit that to anyone that asks. But yeah, I just try and fit it in when I can. I just kind of around the real work, but I just enjoy it so much. It's not really hard to want to spend time giving back to the community, because I get such a good feeling from being a part of it.
I'll say the community obviously can be a fantastic place, but also can be a negative place as well. I mean, have you ever experienced any negative comments? Obviously, you mentioned you have a wife, and any kind of other things about being a woman in tech.
I have mostly experienced positive comments from the community. I think the worst thing that happens to me is I get misgendered sometimes, and I think I try to always introduce myself with my pronouns, so it's not like a thing, because people will immediately know. But I don't think I've ever been on kind of it received kind of intentional negative comments and stuff, and if I have, I've missed them. So
just ignore them.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't blame me. So we've had quite a few guests on the past who obviously experienced a lot of negative comments. I was just trying to see what everyone's opinions are, because the big social media platforms don't do enough to
totally
tackle these situations. So I was just trying to understand if you've ever come across it yourself.
No, I feel like I've been pretty lucky on that side of things so far, at least. Touch wood.
Awesome.
I think supports. Sorry, Andrew. I think, especially when we speak to other people on this podcast as well, support and having a support network is so important. And I think everyone within the tech community really understands that. That's what I feel anyway. And that's, myself, who's sort of, 3 years into the IT community now, so to speak, and everyone's so welcoming and everyone wants you to do well. And I feel like that's something that portrays throughout, all of it, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of good kind of ally people within the community, right? Like, people are looking out for each other and have each other's backs, which is kind of nice. Yeah. I also feel like times are kind of changing, right? And I think it's becoming there's obviously still so much work to do, but it's becoming more normal to see more diverse people just be themselves. And I think I've always tried to be myself on Twitter or in real life, because I feel like that representation is so important, because if other people And it's like what you said, seeing my mum work in IT, right? If you see other people doing it, you know you can do it. So hopefully the next generation will come up and they'll see people like them doing IT jobs, doing data platform architect roles, whatever. And they'll be like, oh, well, she can do it, then I can probably do it too, you know? So I feel like that representation is so important. So
yeah. And I think more organisations, I don't know if, you know, where you currently work, I think they are pushing to be more diverse, and, you know, they have diverse teams now, and I know we have sort of engagement teams that go out and do that and whatever else. So I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, agreed. Yep. Yeah, there's still definitely plenty of work to do, but I feel like we're all trying to kind of work hard to move forward in that area. So
yeah. Did you say that you have daughters?
No kids. No.
Oh, right. I thought you said that you had daughters or whatever else. But I guess, so for the younger generation, what advice would you give if they wanted to get into tech?
I think just find things that you're passionate about and find things that interest you and start fiddling with them, basically. Like I think it's the same for kind of engineering and IT. Like if you find something that interests you and you can spend time working on it or learning how things work, I think that's the best way to do it, because if it's forced and you're like trying to learn something that you don't really care about, it's never easy to stay engaged, right? And I think I've always been someone that wants to kind of fiddle with different things and take things apart, or like understand how code works. And if I didn't, I think I would find it boring, right? And it would be hard to kind of stay motivated. So yeah, I think just finding something that interests you and going for it, really.
Yeah.
So the IT market now is very accessible to, you know, many people. Obviously, you can get free licenses for like trial tenants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, it enables people just to go out and try and do that studying. Because obviously, you know, going to official courses is quite expensive.
Yeah, all of the Microsoft Learn content too is really great for some of the, I know especially in the database realm, there's a bunch of certs and courses on Microsoft Learn that are really good.
Exactly. And obviously, you know, Microsoft then obviously do their skills challenges. Obviously enable people to then obviously learn about a particular area and then also get an exam voucher to go and do an exam. So even at a very young age, I mean, you don't have to be, you know, leaving school or have left school to start these certifications. I know there's there's a young lad, isn't there, about like 11, who's basically doing like these Microsoft certifications. I saw is that South Coast Summit with his dad.
Yeah,
really?
He's speaking at the Scottish Summit, I think, as well.
Yeah. So I saw
wow.
that. I mean that just goes to show that IT is accessible to anyone. I mean, if this little lad can go and start doing master certifications, then, you know, anyone can do it, really.
Yeah, I think that's another benefit of the cloud, isn't it, too? You don't need to have the most powerful personal laptop now. You could get a Chromebook and connect to the internet, and you can start building things out there too.
I'm just going to get my 6-year-old to start doing it and beat him so I can say he's younger.
The youngest MVP. You must be the youngest MVP.
Not competitive at all. I'm going to get Aaron on it. Get him.
Is there an age limit for being an MVP?
I don't know, is there? I once googled like the youngest. I think it was sort of 15 or something.
Oh wow.
Maybe 50. It wasn't in England, but yeah, I'm sure it was sort of around that age, 15, 16 or whatever. But I mean, if this guy at 11 is doing talks and whatever else, and he's getting his, I mean, hats off to him.
Yeah.
I want to go see that talk. I'll go see him instead of you, John.
It'd probably be more interesting, to be fair.
No, you need the confidence. I think that's the main thing in all of this, isn't it? You need to just get yourself out there and have confidence in yourself, which sometimes is really difficult.
I think it'd be quite hard. I think it'd be quite hard for him. Like, I mean, I'm used to talking. Like, I talk a lot, and then I'm used to talking tech. So, like, I do this in front of customers, or used to do it in front of like customers like weekly. So it's not really.
Obviously, the younger you are, the less fear you actually have. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. If we started earlier, we'd be less worried about it, right?
Yeah, I'll be head of Microsoft right now if I started earlier.
I'm still really young, so.
I'll get on your certs and
just turn your video off then, John. Then we've got to. So yeah, I mean, say I mean, I love the IT market. I mean, it is, a place where I've been there for, nearly 20 years. And, I started as an apprenticeship, just basically looking after, what's it now, Windows NT in a private hospital. So, I'm going back quite some years now, but it is, a very much enjoyment place. Every day out my current role is completely different. Whether I'm talking to customers or I'm helping develop stuff in-house, I'm always learning something new and helping others as well. That's the main thing about. I like helping others because I've achieved my MVP status. I've been out to Microsoft and seen that world. So it'd be nice to do it again in the future, but I'd like to help others get to that point as well.
Definitely.
Cool.
John, have you got your fire questions that you want to ask?
No, we leave it for today.
Why? You've not got them?
No, it needs to do it at the beginning. I missed it.
Oh.
That's right. So, Jess, obviously we spoke about now your past, your present. What does the future hold? Do you have like a 5-year, 7-year plan that you want to basically achieve in the time?
Retire.
Yeah, retire. I don't know. I'm very bad at planning. So I've got nothing specific, but I know I just want to keep contributing back to the community, keep learning and working on cool things, I love solving problems and building things. So as long as the next 5 years kind of includes those things, I'll be happy. But yeah, no major in the distance goals for me at the moment.
Do you think you'd like to ever sort of go in, because all I'm thinking is sort of the next step up, you've reached such a high sort of level within IT anyway, and obviously the next step up could be, I don't know, head of something or more like people management and that sort of thing. Does that interest you?
No, my goal will be to stay away from that for sure.
Okay.
I've always said
I don't blame you.
I don't really I love doing things, right? And I don't want to necessarily, at least maybe my mind will change in the future, but right now I couldn't imagine a job where I'm not doing things, where I see that there are some benefits from being kind of a people leader, right? Because you can help Andrew, kind of what you said, like you can help the next kind of group of people to learn and grow and get their MVP perhaps and get out to Microsoft, whatever. But I just enjoy the doing right now. So no plans for that for sure.
Fine.
For me, I love doing tech. I mean, I don't do enough tech that I'd like to in my current role, but I've kind of like learned to do other things as well that obviously drive me and make me more passionate. So obviously, talking about diversity, equality, inclusion, that's something that I've took on board and basically try and do it in my day role. And so it's just helping people learn as well. So I mean, I run the Microsoft Learning Group for my team, so I'm helping all my colleagues basically get their certifications because I've got that and done them. Because I've got no fears. I don't care if the exam's new or there's no content, but I'll just go and do the exam and see how I get on. I'm just basically encouraging my colleagues as well to get on that train of thought.
Awesome.
Well, Jess, I want to say thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, of course.
It's always nice to have a chat with people about obviously their careers, and probably see you at the South Coast Summit. I expect.
Yeah, I hope so.
And also for you, Andrew, it must be nice to be able to speak to someone whose name you can pronounce as well.
Or not get wrong. To be fair, John, I didn't actually do the intro, so it's all good this time around.
Yeah, you've been palming it off every time.
Any guess?
I think I've done like the last 10 since you got one of our guests' names completely wrong.
Oh no.
Yeah. Was it? I called her Tracy and her name's Trisha. So
yeah.
That's a good
Oh
one.
dear.
No, so I'll be at the South Coast Summit because I'm the track lead for accessibility. So I'm
awesome.
John's
Yeah.
as well.
I'm doing a workshop on a Friday at South Coast Summit to be on sale next month. That'd be cool.
Perfect. Cool. Awesome.
Right, so thank you very much for joining us today, Jess, and everyone else. I'll see you next time on our next podcast.
Yeah, perfect. Lovely to meet you, Jess.
Yeah, you
See you
too.
guys
Thanks for
later.
having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Microsoft Spotlight podcast. Please make sure you hit that like, share and subscribe button to help us promote our message. You can also follow us on Twitter at MSFT Spotlight, and we're also on LinkedIn, the Microsoft Spotlight Podcast. And finally, we'd like to tell you a little bit about BitTitan and thank them for sponsoring this podcast.
Remote migrations start here. Let Migration Wiz do the work for you. It's fast, secure, and 100% SaaS, which means you can migrate at any time and from anywhere. Migrate mailboxes, documents, public folders, personal archives, or even Microsoft Teams with just a few clicks. No special training needed and no customer downtime. When the work matters, choose Migration Wiz.